In the early 1970s, a young Australian philosopher named Peter Singer was walking through the streets of Oxford, where he was studying as a graduate student. One afternoon, over lunch with fellow philosopher Richard Keshen, he was asked a simple question: why do we eat animals? Singer didn't have a ready answer, and that moment would spark a revolution in moral philosophy. Born in Melbourne in 1946 to Austrian-Jewish refugees who had escaped the Holocaust, Singer was raised with an acute awareness of suffering and injustice. After completing his undergraduate degree at the University of Melbourne, he pursued philosophy at Oxford. While he initially focused on abstract ethical theory, his thinking began to shift toward the practical consequences of philosophical ideas, especially those concerning the way humans treat non-human animals. In 1975, Singer published Animal Liberation, a book that would go on to reshape the landscape of moral thought. With cool, clinical reasoning and fierce ethical conviction, Singer argued that the moral principle of equality should not be limited to humans. What matters morally, he insisted, is the capacity to suffer. If a being can feel pain, then its interests must be taken seriously. This idea, rooted in Jeremy Bentham's utilitarianism, was explosive. It meant that the factory farming of chickens, pigs, and cows, along with the use of animals in unnecessary laboratory experiments, was not merely unpleasant, it was morally indefensible. Singer coined the term speciesism to describe the widespread human tendency to privilege our own species over others without justification, much like racism or sexism. He made clear that caring about animals wasn't about sentimentality or cuteness. It was a question of reason and justice. His book provided meticulous descriptions of industrial animal agriculture, exposing conditions that were hidden from public view and demanding reform grounded in logic, not emotion. Though animal liberation was met with outrage in some circles, it also galvanized a global movement. Animal rights organizations began citing Singer's work as foundational. Debates erupted in academic, political, and legal forums. Even meat-eaters were forced to reckon with his arguments. Singer continued to write and teach, eventually becoming a professor at Princeton University. His work expanded into bioethics, global poverty, and effective altruism, but animal liberation remained his seminal contribution. It wasn't merely a book, it was a moral challenge. Peter Singer had done what philosophers rarely do. He changed how millions think about what's right and what's wrong, starting with what's on their plate.